Hey guys, today we're going to talk about healthy digestion and what to do if you have a digestion problem. Now, I have just released a book called Everything You Should Know About Healthy Blood Sugar that goes into a lot of detail about digestion and about why some of these foods that we're going to mention are bad. So it's definitely worth checking out that detail in book form, or the video audio versions are free. All of those links are in the description of the video. And we also have at least 3 videos on our channel that go into more detail about the first thing that we're going to talk about, which is gluten. So you can check out Serial Killers by Dr. Wallach, Against the Grain by Dr. Glidden, or 6 Reasons Gluten is Bad by me. Because that is the very first thing that we would recommend for anybody, anybody, whether they have a digestion problem or not, we would recommend everybody go completely gluten-free. That is to avoid wheat, barley, rye, as well as oats, and I added quinoa to the list. So those 5 grains, wheat, barley, rye, oats, and quinoa, should be completely avoided. Why? Because these both damage and inflame the intestines, which is where nutrients are absorbed. So when you have a digestion problem, you can be creating a nutrient deficiency problem because the organ that absorbs nutrients is damaged by the digestion problem. So everybody should be gluten-free. You should understand why modern wheat and modern grain foods are different from what they were in the past. And you should know that this is the single most beneficial thing that anybody can do for their overall health, and especially their digestion. Plenty of people don't take any of our other advice. They only go gluten-free, and they come back and they tell us that their symptoms of the IBS or the diverticulitis or the Crohn's went away, or their cramping or their general aches and pains, all kinds of things. You wouldn't believe how many things people have told me have gone away simply by going gluten-free. And we're not selling gluten-free, we're just telling you that if you want to be healthy, you need to be gluten-free. If you want to correct your digestion, number one thing to do is to be 100,000% gluten-free. Be serious about it, remove it from your house. Feed your pets gluten-free food so you're not exposed to the dust. It is that serious, and if you take it that serious, you will improve your digestion without doing anything else. So that's number one. Number two, you must use enough salt. This is especially true for people who quit processed foods and go to eat real foods, because more often than not, people fail to put enough salt when they cook their own real food. And usually the more it's cooked, the more salt you actually need on the food, especially with meat. Salt makes stomach acid. Without enough stomach acid, you cannot properly digest foods or absorb nutrients. The whole digestion can be thrown off if you do not have enough salt. You know you have enough salt if anything tastes too salty. That means you have reached your limit of salt. You want to salt everything to taste. You want to salt all foods so that you can just taste the salt. I recommend also salting the water, coffee, tea. I do this. It tastes good. It gives the liquids more body. It reduces the dehydration effect of the coffee or the tea. And it's a way to stay hydrated throughout the day, because hydration is water and water-soluble nutrients, including salt. Also a lot more detail about that in the book Healthy Blood Sugar. If you're reading these testimonials on the screen about salt, you may have noticed the word salt flush. That is basically just a really salty glass of water. I'm not going to go into full detail about it here. I will make a full video about that in future, and you can email us about that or message us on Instagram, and we'll just give you the instructions. If you salt your food and water to taste, you will be topping up your salt over time. A salt flush is a faster way to top up the salt, especially if you've been very low for a long time. It's basically just a really thick, really salty glass of water. You should only be able to drink a few sips of it if you are topped up on your salt. But if you can drink a lot of that really salty glass, the salt flush, then the instructions are to do another salt flush in 24 or 48 hours the next day or the day after, with the exact same amount of salt and the exact same amount of water, and you should be able to drink less. You repeat that every 1 or 2 days until you can only take a few sips, and then you're topped up like you should be. While we're on the topic of stomach acid, if you are using a proton pump inhibitor, which is a drug that lowers stomach acid, or another drug that lowers stomach acid, or you are using stomach acid lowering tablets like Tums, you must stop that. You need stomach acid to digest food and to absorb nutrients. If you have acid reflux or heartburn, it is caused by a lack of stomach acid. The most likely cause of this is a lack of salt, a chronic underuse of salt. There is another possibility in which osteoporosis pinches the vagus nerve in the back, which disrupts the chief cells squirting the acid into the stomach. And that's a longer topic, but for most people, the stomach pain, the indigestion, and the heartburn is all caused by salt deficiency and by drinking a really strong, salty glass of water until it becomes too salty. This should relieve the stomach pain instantaneously, and if it doesn't completely absolve the pain, it should make it feel better and improve your digestion tomorrow at least. In future, you salt all food to taste and keep portion sizes reasonable, and there should be no heartburn or indigestion. And if you do have the osteoporosis causing the stomach problem, that's going to have multiple other symptoms in the same category, and that is reversed long-term with supporting the skeleton with good nutrition and avoiding the bad foods, including those 5 grains so that you can absorb nutrients. Next, after salt, if anybody wants to improve their digestion, I recommend using a digestive enzyme supplement for 1 to 3 months. You do not need to take this type of product forever unless you are missing a gallbladder. If you are missing a gallbladder, you must supplement with digestive enzymes and bile, because the gallbladder was the sac that held the bile, which is released into the intestines, and that bile breaks down fats and is a key part of the digestion process overall. So you need bile and you need digestive enzymes, and any one of us can benefit from their use short term. A good enzyme product is going to be one like ours right here, Ultimate Enzymes, which not only has a spread of enzymes in it, it also has betaine hydrochloride. The chloride is what makes our stomach acid. Hydrochloric acid is stomach acid. Normally we make our stomach acid with salt, and there's some other chlorine in foods, but betaine hydrochloride is a very effective compound for boosting the stomach acid big time very quickly. And the third component of a good digestive enzyme product is also going to be bile. It's going to include bile. So ours does include bile. You can buy ours. If not, you want to find a digestive enzyme supplement with all 3 of those components: enzymes, bile, and a chloride compound, preferably betaine hydrochloride. It's smart to use a digestive enzyme first thing in the morning. If you're using our product, that is 1 to 2 capsules in the morning and 1 to 2 capsules before meals. Roughly 5 to 15 minutes before meals is most effective. Taking it during meals doesn't make a lot of sense, and taking it after meals does not make a lot of sense either. Taking either 1 or 2 enzymes depends on whether you are over or underweight. If you are severely over or underweight, I would take at least 2 enzymes on each serving. And if you're very, very overweight, that could be 3 enzymes first thing in the morning and 3 before each meal. Drop it down to 2 as you lose weight, then down to 1 as you reach a healthy weight, and then you can drop them completely as long as you have your gallbladder. Sometimes people ask what foods they should eat to support digestion, and overall, the question doesn't really matter to us. We care what foods you do not eat. We care about the foods that screw up your system, and when we're talking about digestion, there's 2 categories of foods that are relevant there. Number 1 is those 5 grains at the beginning. Number 2 is carbonated drinks. Any type of carbonated drink is going to affect the stomach acid. The chemistry is complicated, but the overall result is a lowering of stomach acid. This is why your stomach feels better if you overeat on Thanksgiving dinner and you have a ginger ale afterwards. Well, the carbonation does make your stomach feel better because you're experiencing indigestion at that time. But the carbonation is ensuring that that meal is not going to be digested properly. And if you do this all the time, it is going to be a big problem, both for the digestion of foods and the absorption of nutrients. So you don't want carbonation in your life. It gives you no benefit. If you must consume carbonation, do not consume it within 1 to 2 hours before or after meals. That means keep your carbonation away from meals, a minimum of 1 to 2 hours. Even smarter, if you did consume carbonation and then you're going to eat an hour afterwards, is to take a digestive enzyme before that meal, and to drink some slightly salted water, and of course to make sure you salt that meal to taste. Beer drinkers ask if they can switch to a gluten-free beer. The answer is yes. Rice beer is going to be the least problematic. Again, keep it away from meals, which is a bit weird because generally most health people would recommend eating with alcohol to absorb some of that alcohol and help your body handle the alcohol. So generally any alcohol that is not gluten and not carbonated is going to be much, much, much better for you, or at least much less harmful. There is a type of food that you can eat that will help your digestion categorically, and that is anything that is rich in probiotics. You can look on the labels of food for active cultures. Some cheeses have active cultures added to them. Yogurts have probiotics. Apple cider vinegar with the mother has probiotics and enzymes in it, which is partially why it helps with digestion. Do not have to use apple cider vinegar, but it is yet another source of probiotics and enzymes. Generally don't recommend soy-based foods. That can be a longer conversation, but fermented foods like miso, although they do have probiotics in them, I would recommend finding a food that is not soy-based to get your probiotics. This could be anything from pickles to kefir to sauerkraut. People ask about kombucha a lot. Kombucha is probiotic rich and it is carbonated. I just said that carbonation is bad for digestion, but that is only if you are eating with the carbonation. Kombucha can be an excellent way to get a lot of probiotics in because it's actually carbonated, Since the carbonation lowers the stomach acid, that means the probiotics are more likely to survive the stomach acid and actually make it into the intestines where they're supposed to be. P.S. That's why people usually recommend you buy 30 or 80 billion active culture products, because they need you to take billions of active cultures, since most of them won't survive the stomach acid. That's why kombucha is very effective in getting more probiotics into the intestine. Just don't consume it with meals. You can also supplement with probiotics. You can do both. You can eat them and supplement with them. Generally, I recommend finding foods that you do enjoy that have probiotics so you can eat them all the time and just get the probiotic benefit. Some of our daily products, such as the Tangy Tangerine, does have a daily dose of probiotics in it, but in this digestion video, this month, the first month at least, that you would be starting with us with this digestion protocol, you would be really only worrying about digestion. You're going to spend this first month getting rid of gluten completely. That's a fair task for anybody who hasn't done this before. You've got to clear cupboards out. You've got to have conversations. You've got to look into things. You've got to learn the hidden sources of gluten, like gravy and soy sauce, and so on. So we don't usually start people on supplements if they have a big digestion problem. We start with the digestion protocol, which is this: going gluten-free, making sure they're using enough salt, topping up their stomach acid, using digestive enzymes if they have a big problem, being aware of carbonation, and starting to use probiotics. Next on the list is something that is also temporary, like the digestive enzymes. It's called diatomaceous earth. It's ground diatoms, which are small single-celled shelled organisms. Diatomaceous earth, or DE, is one of the cheapest health products available on earth. It should be $10 per pound or less, and if you buy 20 or 30 or 50 pounds, it gets a lot cheaper. I do recommend anybody who is doing a digestive protocol buy at least 10 pounds. 20 pounds will be even better, because that will take you through 3 months with big doses, and you can have some left over. There's multiple household uses for DE, because it is antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial. And after you've done the digestion reset, I like to have diatomaceous earth in the house in case I eat something weird or feel like I might have gotten a food bug or pathogen or something like that. Or if you've just eaten too much food and you just want to help your stomach out. Diatomaceous earth clears out the guts. It does this electrically. It's a clump of clay, basically a clump of shells rolling through your digestive system, attracting particles and pathogens to it, and it is very effective in clearing out the system. It can, but it's not guaranteed to, force a huge bowel movement immediately, especially with very overweight people. They can have a lot of stuff in their guts right now that wants to come out. The digestion system is not working properly. It's not pushing it out. The DE can force it out. This is why we recommend big servings of this. This is not a nutrient supplement that you're absorbing or digesting. It's going through you. So you want to use big scoops. You want to use a plastic or wooden or glass spoon, scoop, cup, all of that. You don't want to use metal. And I recommend at least 2 heaping tablespoons for each serving in a glass of water. The amount of water doesn't matter, just has to dissolve. You will taste it. It tastes chalky. You might not want a lot of water. You might want just a little bit of water to shoot it down. I like to add a little bit of salt to it. And I do also like to use this first thing in the morning, especially if you have a digestive problem. So this would be you waking up, making a glass of diatomaceous earth with some salt in it to taste, and then you're taking your digestive enzyme at that time while you drink the diatomaceous earth and salt mix. This is going to be hydrating you because you're dehydrated in the morning, and it's also going to kickstart your body on having good digestion that day. Again, diatomaceous earth is cheap. I do recommend using it 1 to 3 months when you first start using this, and keep it in the house in case you get a sniffle or a cold or a food poisoning or anything weird feeling in the stomach, or if you want to kill bugs in your house. I plug up ant holes with it. They never come back in. Some people put diatomaceous earth around the stems of their plants so that bugs do not climb up the plants, and so on. There are many uses of it that you can look into. I know the shopping list seems like it's gotten a bit long here, but it's really not that long. Probiotics are in foods. You should just find some foods that you like that have probiotics and eat them. You can buy probiotic supplements for the short term. By the way, if a probiotic supplement causes some sort of reaction, like bloating or discomfort or a rash or something, that is the type of strain that you are reacting to. All you have to do is switch to another product. Switch to another type of strain. That will probably not happen. And the next and final thing that I would actually recommend here for a basic digestion protocol that covers pretty much every base. Remember, what we've done here is we've removed the main foods that are causing the digestion problem. We've increased the raw material, salt or chloride, that your body needs to make stomach acid. We boosted the probiotics, which we haven't talked about the mechanics of why those are important, but they are important for the ultimate absorption and digestion of all food after it passes through the small intestine. It's really all up to the probiotics in the large intestine to get all the rest of the job done. So it is very, very important to our digestion and immune system to have a good, healthy colonies of probiotics. And we've also boosted the enzymes in the bile, which again is more raw material to get digestion done, just helping it out short term until everything is running smoothly on its own. And we've added a bulldozer, which is diatomaceous earth, to just run through the system and clear any gunk out, kill a lot of pathogens that may or may not be in there. And finally, the last food thing that I would recommend is bone broth or aloe if you are plant-based and don't want to eat bone broth. Both bone broth and aloe will have a soothing effect on the guts, but bone broth also has the raw material for your body to remake the connective tissues that your intestines are made of. If you have a digestion problem, I am assuming that there is either damage or inflammation in the intestines or both. That means the body needs to repair that. It needs more raw material to do that. The primitive wild people that are healthy out there naturally, without pharmaceuticals and surgeries, they naturally consume a lot of connective tissue. By weight, an animal is mostly muscle and connective tissue. We only eat the muscle. That's what we call meat. Primitive people eat the connective tissue as well, all of it, as well as the bones, and boil them and grind them and so on. There's a lot of nutrients in an animal that is not in the muscle, and ones that are especially important for us are the connective tissues, because we, like a cow, are also mostly muscle and connective tissue. So if you want to rebuild the digestive system, I do recommend bone broth. I recommend making it yourself, getting bags of bones from the butcher or grocery store. They are cheap. You might have to ask the butcher counter. It might not be on display at your grocery store, but they should give you some soup bones. You boil them. Pretty much the longer the better. You can look on how to do that, and we do have videos on our food channels on how to do that. You make the broth in big batches. Ideally, you freeze a whole bunch of it so you can thaw it out all the time and drink it daily conveniently. Now that's pretty much it, guys. There isn't that many more components to good digestion. You got to avoid the foods that screw it up, and that's primarily those 5 grains. You need strong stomach acids, so you need to use enough salt. You can help your body out with more enzymes in the short term, clear the system out with DE, and you can give your body the raw material to rebuild its intestines. Now, I do have 2 digestion packs on my website. I made both these packs up. I made both these combinations up. The first one I called a digestion starter pack. And you can see here, this is pretty much what I recommended. I can't sell you a product to be gluten-free, and I can't sell you salt. Salt is too cheap. But this is the rest of it. The Ultimate Enzymes has the enzymes and the bile and the betaine hydrochloride. Flora FX is a probiotic supplement. The Oxybody is an aloe-based product, and the liquid glucogel is raw connective tissue. It's basically glucosamine. And the liquid version of that product, because normally it comes in capsules, we always said the liquid version is for like emergencies, or it works faster. If you need to get something done faster, we use the liquid. So there's my digestion starter pack, those 4 products. Now, I got pretty good results with this pack overall. A few complaints about the tastes of one or the other of the liquid products, but this is short term. You're not meant to be on these forever, and these are pretty heavy duty and concentrated, and you are meant to dilute them in other liquids. But recently I created another digestion pack. It's a bit cheaper. To me, it really doesn't matter which one they choose. You've seen I mentioned a few main things that you want to do to improve digestion. I hope they're doing the gluten-free, and I hope they're doing the salt on their own. And product-wise, either the digestion pack number 1 or number 2, they're both efficient ways to get more enzymes, probiotics, and other compounds that are going to benefit the gut health in some way. In the case of the digestion pack number 2, the nightly essence here, the ultimate nightly essence, this is a probiotic and enzyme product combined into one. You're meant to take it at night. It's very powerful. It's quite expensive, actually. I have done it, and I had an incredible experience with this. It's far more powerful than any probiotic or enzyme or digestion product that I've ever tried by far. And the second product in here is the Ultimate Microbiome. And this product is actually quite complicated. I could make a whole very long video talking about all the components of the microbiome, but the short story is that it has more probiotics, it has more enzymes, it has a few medicinal components that are going to help with gut health. It's got glutamine, which is highly promoted on its own to help with gut health, mostly for the same sort of reason as the connective tissue for repairing the gut linings. And this product actually has the hyperimmune egg product in it, which is a very interesting product on its own. And we do not have time to go into it here. But the short story is I have either of these digestion packs in here, which I tend to recommend someone when they come to us and many of their problems are digestive. Even if they have arthritis or an overactive thyroid or polycystic ovary syndrome, if digestion is screaming off the page as one of their biggest problems, I'm going to start with digestion. I'm going to put that other stuff aside, and we're going to do at least 30 days of digestive correction first before we start throwing in the supplements, just to make sure that they're absorbing as much of it as they can. Hopefully they lose some weight in this first month as well if they are overweight, because supplements are based on body weight. And I know that a lower body weight is going to correspond with an improvement of symptoms on their own. A lot of aches and pains and headaches and such will just go away when the person loses the weight on its own. So the digestion pack can definitely speed this up. Either digestion pack does not matter to me. They are both heavy hitting. And I wouldn't recommend anything else in the meantime. That's it. We talk so much about the 90 essential nutrients. Obviously, they're incredibly important. Obviously, we believe everybody should be on these nutrients even before birth. But realistically, when someone comes in with a digestion problem, we have to address that first. And 30 days is a good window. Most people can completely correct their digestion within 30 days. Some people might take a little bit longer, including those that have the osteoporosis problem, pinching nerves and screwing up digestion in a roundabout way. And just remember before I go here, none of this information was about treating any problem. If you come in with IBS or diverticulitis, we don't treat those problems. We give you this exact same advice here in the context of removing the source of the problem, which is probably just the foods, in supporting healthy digestion, which is the legal terminology. Support healthy digestion with more raw components for stomach acid, with more probiotics, with more enzymes, and by clearing it out with diatomaceous earth. I did not mention fasting in this video. Fasting deserves its own video for its numerous benefits in various metrics of health, but when it comes to digestion, I'm going to assume that the person with the digestive problem also has a blood sugar problem. If you have a blood sugar problem, it can be difficult or dangerous to fast because it can cause low blood sugar, and this can cause fainting or dizziness, and obviously this can be dangerous, especially for older or overweight people. You could be going up the stairs, you could be driving, you could be trimming the hedges with hedge clippers. All of these situations are dangerous if you fall over randomly from low blood sugar. So do not worry about fasting in the meantime. Decrease your portion sizes, sure, but this is going to happen naturally over time. As you correct your digestion, number one, you're not going to be able to eat as much food. Also, we're going to get you on the 90 essential nutrients after this. This should decrease hunger because your body is hungry for nutrients that are not in the food supply. When you feed your body these nutrients, the usual effect for most of us is to not be as hungry, and therefore eating frequency and portion sizes and overall calories automatically decreases. You can put your conscious attention into that, but for the first 30 days, that is not my main concern. My main concern is getting rid of those greens, getting rid of the carbonation, adding in these other things. And your appetite and your metabolism will even themselves out as we move forward. But that's pretty much it for now, guys. This is longer than I expected it to be, but this is almost everything that you need to know about the basic mechanics of what to do about digestion. Again, there is more detail in my book, Everything You Should Know About Healthy Blood Sugar. And I'm going to be recommending that from now on when anybody has a question about digestion, because the whole story is there. But that's all I've got for now. I appreciate you. Until next time. And definitely check out my book, Fake Diseases. It covers all of the major topics that come up, like birth defects, blood sugar problems, bone and joint problems, cancer, autoimmune problems, and more. And it's on Amazon for just $9.99. Definitely get yourself a copy of Dr. Wallach's cookbook. This is basically a textbook teaching you everything you know about how to cook without the bad foods, particularly oil and gluten, and all of the other problematic things on the list. This is 300 pages stuffed full of recipes, every traditional recipe that you could think of, and modern dishes without the bad foods that they're usually made from. And of course, make sure to check out our food page, Notice Foods, that's on YouTube, and at Notice Foods on Instagram. We have a lot of content up there teaching you how to cook without the bad foods that Dr. Wallach describes, and Dr. Glidden's 12 bad foods, all of that, all of the rules that you need to know. And we have experienced chefs and bakers who will answer the questions in those inboxes. And I've also published a book in response to some of Dr. Wallach's criticisms, including the major articles that have been written against him on the internet. So if you are a Dr. Wallach fan or a longevity distributor, I definitely recommend having this book in your toolkit. And all of my books, audiobooks, and links are available on my website, noticebooks.org.